Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice. Day number 3 as we're in the group stages at the moment. The round of 24, one series down, many more to go. I say one series, we had 3 series going on whilst that was happening. And I am joined to my right-hand side by Rotterdam and Maynarde. Boys, we're going to be talking about another cool match coming up here in the group stages. It's going to be gumiho going up against SpeCial, a TVT that I think a lot of people are looking forward to seeing how SpeCial is going to contend with all of these Terrans. But let's start with someone like gumiho, of course, who I think from 2010 all the way through to 2017, his whole career was leading up to a GSL victory. And since then, I mean, since the past couple of years, I should say, he's been impressing us time and time again.
Yeah, he's had a really good 2017, obviously. He had a good showing at the global finals as well. Made it out of that group where he defeated Carrol twice, when a lot of us were really looking at Carrol to carry the 4 in the torch in that event. Wasn't the case. It was awesome for gumiho to finally get that big title, but it's funny in a way how we still don't see him as like the other 4 big Terrans that we often talk about, right? Even though Beyond is a little bit invisible at the moment, but when you think of the world's best Terrans, people always say TY, Innovation, Maru, and then it's like, you know, Beyond is still really good, and then of course gumiho as well, and then you go down the list. But you know, a victory here would change everything, James, but it's going to be very tough for Gumi.
Yeah, Mr. Maynard partial to some TVT as well. Of course, you got someone like SpeCial on the other side who as much as he has come off the back of a defeat in his first round here, I should say, he's a guy that we spoke about when we were talking in the open brackets. He's a guy that we didn't realize his full potential until just recently. And how far is that going to take him? I think a lot of people consider him to probably take a WCS Circuit Championship at some point. He's at that peak.
Yeah, he's been Mr. Top 4, right? The top 4 at BlizzCon, top 4 at WCS multiple times, never quite making it to the final, and of course that means never quite winning one.
Right.
But I think if he maintains this level, it's absolutely just a matter of time. It's not like if, it's more like when. This tournament, though, you know, the non-Koreans have had a rough first round here, I suppose, of the round robin. But yeah, I think that we're going to start seeing SpeCial fight back. I actually favor him quite a bit against gumiho. I think he's a really solid Terran player. Obviously, plays a lot like TY. They're good friends. Stylistically, they're very similar as well. And I would say that TVT has been historically one of his best matchups as well. Whereas gumiho, he's a little strange, and sometimes people that are just really solid will punish strange people.
Right. Well, I'm hearing that we are ready to go to our game here for our TVT. There are going to be more games on the laptops as we continue things on as well. So let's head over to the commentary team for our Terran versus Terran.
What's up, guys? It's Tasteless and Pig bringing you a very unique TVT here. Gumiho versus SpeCial. Maynard mentioned this early on in the pre-show, but these guys have very different play styles. And I don't know exactly what this TVT is going to look like.
I don't think any of us really do. I mean, you've got solid play from SpeCial, but I mean, we saw him in the open bracket bring out some crazy styles, going for Sky Terran Cyclone builds when he was facing off against Mech. Gumiho, of course, a creature of creativity. When everyone else plays Mech, he starts playing Bio. When they're playing Bio, he starts playing Mech. He's always got different weird openings, and we're just gonna have to wait and see exactly what craziness he brings out.
I'm gonna be honest, I'm kind of rooting for SpeCial here. I've known him for a long time. Gumiho, though, got to, as far as we know, the height of his career just recently, winning a GSL Katowice after being in, I want to say it was like around 20 GSL Katowices. It's kind of crazy, but anyways, let me go ahead and intro these players. Here in the upper left, in the red, he is SpeCial. And his opponent here in the bottom right, in the blue, He is Gumiho.
Going to be spawning here in on Backwater. One of the more interesting maps here. Definitely, we see a lot of games ending quite fast, but if it does go to those later stages, there's this whole kind of river running through the middle of the map, and a lot of interesting high ground areas, ledges where siege tank lines can be drawn. SpeCial going to be going for a very fast SCV scout here.
Yeah.
Usually a sign of him wanting to just kind of expand up and wants to see exactly what he's up against. And he will scout. It's 2 gases very early for Gumi. So Gumiho is going to be teching up a little bit faster. No doubt going to be the one who's looking to be a bit more aggressive from the get-go.
That's right. So this is a good scout here by SpeCial. Of course, if you don't send that SCV out early, you do end up getting a little bit more minerals. And this is a choice that players have to make when the game starts out. Like, how comfortable am I? How much do I want to try to rush up to whatever I'm going to try to do? Am I going to do the strategy no matter what they're doing? So therefore, I don't really need to scout and try to check what's up. But in this case, SpeCial going for a CC on the low ground. And as you were saying, Pick, it looks like Gumiho definitely teching up. We already see that factory about halfway done.
Nice to see this clash of styles. SpeCial just kind of wants to play his game, scout, make sure he's not surprised. He wants to expand, he wants to take it to the middle and later stages. Gumiho, on the other hand, of course, is going to be looking to get out there and get on the map. We did, of course, have our observer point out that SpeCial is scouting for fast proxies. He's walled off with a depot to stop the jump-in path on the ledge as well right there. Normally a Reaper can jump up there, but with that depot blocking, that's not going to be possible. So Gumiho here going to start to poke out on this map. There is a second Reaper and a Hellion on the way behind this, but SpeCial well set up to defend this.
Yeah, SpeCial in very good shape right now. And we see with Gumiho expanding a little bit later, the real thing to watch for is Gumiho going to be able to get any kind of exploits in here while SpeCial is trying to catch up in tech. We got one guy going for the early economy, the other guy going for early tech, which also means you have the opportunity for early aggression, and there's always so many different forms of that. Now we have the 2 Reapers and the Hellion coming up here. Let's see, what exactly does Gumiho have up at the front of his base? It looks like he's going to retreat up to the high ground. In fact, Gumiho may try to come in here to bust.
Oh man, only a single Reaper and Marine still. The SCVs have to get pulled. That Reaper goes down. The focus fire was sick.
This is a serious blunder here by SpeCial to allow this to come in. Gumiho really reaping the benefits of this opener. The SCVs, some of them sent down there to that expansion, but there's still plenty more that can be picked off right here, right now.
That is so much damage. These 2 Hellions come out. They are finally going to defend this, but already 11 SCVs have gone down, and Gumiho even takes out one of the Reapers on the way out as well. Wow, this is just too much damage for the start of this game.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you lose that many workers early on. I mean, everything in StarCraft is incremental, right? That's why in any build you see, it's one of the big themes about it is you keep making workers constantly, because the more workers you have, the more money you have, then the more you can build. And to take a blow like that, and that was before the 4-minute marker in this game, is huge. And I don't even really know what SpeCial is supposed to do at this point in time. We don't generally see engagements that occur like that at this level of play because it's so hard to come back from.
It's going to be really tough. He's got to figure out that there's Cloaked Banshees on the way right now. That's going to be Gumiho's next wave of aggression. SpeCial has no idea about that just yet. He's coming across with 2 Cyclones and this Hellion to try and scout what's up. But those Banshees will be heading across the map in the near future. And behind that, Gumiho is just going to be going into a more standard game plan. He's building tanks for safety. He's got a 3rd command center on the way. But, ooh, the Banshee actually gets caught here before Cloak is done. A lot of damage going down on that.
Oh, barely avoiding those shots there from the Cyclone. I'm wondering if, Gumiho's actually going to go ahead and repair that, because otherwise there'd be no way that could get inside the SpeCial's base without being picked off immediately. But that's pretty good. That's going to curb some of that aggression from Gumiho as he's sent that Banshee back. At the same time, though, both these guys actually go in for a 3rd base pretty quickly here. I am wondering if Gumiho decides to attack, and we know that's an inevitability here, especially with the position he's in. Is SpeCial going to be able to keep both his 2nd and his 3rd base? Because he's going to be spread pretty thin.
Yeah, that's what's interesting about this map. I mean, there's only one direct ground path into your 3 bases, so a lot of the time we look at this map and say, hey, you get a fast third base for free, but really in Terran vs. Terran, there is so many things that can come in and hit you. Speaking of which, the Banshee already slowing that command center down. Second Banshee actually going to group up with it, so they're going to come in together now with Cloak being finished. SpeCial trying to defend with Cyclones, but no turret on the third just yet.
Barely gets that command center up in time. Keep in mind, 2 Banshees can one-shot an SCV. So as long as these can remain undetected and out of range of the Cyclones, there's a real economic threat here for SpeCial.
Yeah, those Cyclones will push back the Banshees for now, but neither of them have gone down, and gumiho isn't exactly banking on massive damage done. He just wants to check what's going on, keep the pressure up, and make sure that SpeCial doesn't get away with rushing up the economy and recovering. Does finally get a Banshee, but so many scans are being used here. I feel like SpeCial maybe a little bit too gun-ho on some of these. He's already committed to turrets. They are now going to finish up, but his economy trailing behind by 11 SCVs right now. He's starting to get up the extra factories and a starport. But gumiho on his side of the map is looking clean and comfortable. He's got 1-1 upgrades on the way. And most importantly, it's a battle of the infrastructure. Often in TVT, you say, yeah, you're a few workers ahead. But if we look at the production of gumiho, he's already got a ton of barracks up. He's got so many Marines coming, the double upgrades, the tanks. And what's very scary for SpeCial as the mech player is, yeah, you're going to go into siege tanks, Hellions. These sort of units are very good defensively, but only once you have enough of them to cover all your bases. And he's only got 1 siege tank building at a time right now, as opposed to a ton of Marines, tanks, and medevacs coming out. And gumiho is going to be able to hit wherever he wants. He might be able to do a huge doom drop in the main. He could do the same thing on the third. And it's going to be a huge effort for SpeCial to not take damage to anything.
I don't normally talk like this, but one way to look at it, the progression of this game is see how many different boxes gumiho generally has in the production tab compared to SpeCial. That's kind of an indicator of just, you know, the punches he pulled off early on have allowed him to have so many more opportunities to upgrade, to tech, to produce an army. Now, with all this being said, I mean, we're all well aware that gumiho's in a good spot. TVT can be flipped on its head very quickly with one bad engage. The damage output from specifically this type of Terran army, siege tank and marine, is, I think, probably one of the fastest you can ever see in StarCraft, and that means that if you get the right engage, maybe you stim before them, or your siege tanks get up and get a few volleys off before theirs do, that can be a game winner. So let's see how this engage goes as gumiho is now pushing, I believe, towards the natural here of SpeCial.
Yeah, the scouting is so important. Notice how SpeCial's trying to keep track of this army because he's so afraid of it picking up and just boosting into one of his bases. He needs to keep his eyes on it. He needs to have pretty much all of his units in position ready to stop that. And that's why he's kind of pushing in and out onto the map a little bit. But gumiho, of course, isn't even committing. He's got +2 weapons on the way. He has a very fast fourth command center. Cyclone for SpeCial, trying to come in the back to see what's going on. Isn't going to spot the fourth, but he's going to spot a huge second army coming out to meet up in the middle of the map.
Okay, gumiho now pushing out. He's getting very close to maxing out at nearly 160 supply. SpeCial, and I think I'd say a more submissive position as far as map dominance goes. He really can't afford to be too far out on the map. We'll hold that thought, though. We see SpeCial getting quite close to gumiho. And here we go, the stim coming in now. And gumiho in a very good position is going to take these tanks out. And this may be the neck-breaking blow as gumiho is going to go in and dive on top of this base. And this should be the beginning of the end.
Just too much damage early on there. SpeCial has to tap out in a quick GG. Game 1 victory there for gumiho. And I mean, that's about as clean as it comes. 2 Reapers and Hellion. They walk up and they're like, oh, we're just going to kill 11 workers.
I think it's safe to say that game number 2 won't look like that, at least early on. I mean, that was a disaster moment when we saw those first few units get inside the main base. And of course, with a build that SpeCial's doing in that game, where he's trying to get a command center up right away, SCVs are what it's themed around, right? You're trying to produce a lot of SCVs so that you might be able to get ahead army-wise, tech-wise later on. But for gumiho to come in there and actually do that damage, and then to follow that up with just very clean macro and teching up and attacking. I mean, on some level, SpeCial was sort of doomed right after that first attack. That's not what every StarCraft game's like, but this one was.
I mean, that's kind of the story we're painting around. It's like, well, SpeCial needed to do so many things correctly to stop that Marine tank push. It really was an almost impossible feat. So, and he tried to hang on there, but as you said, a very bad start to things.
Yeah, unfortunately. Hopefully he can do better in game number 2. But before we do that, let's go ahead and check at the desk and see what's going on in the other games here at the Intel Extreme Masters.
That's right, the battle station here for the Intel Extreme Masters. We've got other games going on. Showtime versus Maro at the moment. Maynarde, that's game 1.
It's actually, the writing's kind of on the wall here. It's a really bad spot for Showtime. He's had some really good engagements and also some really bad engagements, and unfortunately it's been going all Maru for a little while here. See, Showtime's lost his 3rd Nexus, his 4th is under siege, his Natural's in a lot of trouble. There's just... this is a really, really tough nut to crack here for Showtime. He doesn't really have the army to be able to break through this kind of liberated count here. To see that Murray actually has the amount of units to be able to split them off and just move across the map here.
Right.
Showtime, this has been such a scrappy game. Both players have done insane damage to each other's economies. You see that they're, you'll notice that they're at, sub 50 workers each. Because they've both been, hitting each other with charge lot run-bys, drops, all sorts of damage been happening all over the place. And it's actually turning into what looks to be a bit of a base trade here for game 1. Showtime looked like he was super far ahead, but now Maru's in charge.
Right. Okay, thank you very much, Maynarde. It looked like Showtime was doing okay in the middle of that. And as we were talking about that, Dia versus TY game number 1 just concluded.
Yep, I can show you guys the final minute of game number 1 between Deer and TY, because I don't think it necessarily had to end here, but somehow it did. Deer opened up with a Twilight and went straight into Dark Templars. Now there is a Raven, it was just a few seconds too late, but in the end, I'm just gonna fast forward this a little bit, guys, because of course we want to start SpeCial gumiho game 2 as well. But we see roughly 8 SCVs go down in total. And I actually don't hate this that much for TY, because he does have 3 CCs. But then he moved out here, and he's starting to fight Stalkers in the middle of nowhere. And obviously Deer being Deer, showing some good micro. Then Blink finishes up, kills the tank, kills the Marines, and Deer is like, well, I've got double forge, double upgrades on the way, but maybe I can just win the game. And that's exactly what he did, Kaelaris.
Maru just took game 1, by the way.
Thank you very much for the updates, gentlemen, as the games keep raging on here at the Intel Extreme Masters. Let's go over to the commentary team for game number 2 to see how this TVT will play out.
So in game number 1, we saw the rush from Gumiho do a lot of damage. There was really nearly impossible, especially against somebody like Gumiho, a player of that caliber. You're not going to recover from that. So let's see if in game number 2, SpeCial can do a better job overall, and I'd say the first 3-4 minutes.
Absolutely. I mean, he played maybe a little bit risky at the start of that last game. Obviously just counting out the chance of the 2 Reapers and the Hellion. It's not the most common opening at this level of play right now, and just being caught a little bit unawares. That Reaper and Marine going down, of course, was the key. If he was able to pull a few SCVs a little bit quicker, that would have been fine, but the Marine and the Reaper were just focused down so quick. So let's see if it can be a little bit different in game number 2.
Down here in the bottom right, in the red, he is Gumiho. And his opponent here in the upper left, in the blue, he is SpeCial.
Going to be going into Acid Plant for game number 2. This was a map where we did see the crazy conclusion of SpeCial vs. Bunny series in his qualification match from the open bracket. We saw an insanely back and forth series of mech battles there, Cyclones and Liberators all over the place. I think what's really interesting about this map is as you get to the middle stages, it's so widespread in the middle. The way it goes diagonal from bottom left to top right, there's just this massive area from side to side. So it's not a map where you can kind of just zone out the edges very easily. There's always a chance to sort of outmaneuver your opponent and find another path across.
I really like what you said there, Pig. There is this kind of serpentining high ground that zigzags through the middle. But that's going to make for some unique fights because there's lots of moments where you could get high ground, but you might have to take a risk going back down into low ground and then get back up to where their location is. And especially in a TVT where, you know, the engages, they happen so fast.
Positioning is everything. I mean, we all know about siege tank fire and, you know, the angles they can take, and especially if there's Marines, but even with mech armies, positioning ends up very important. And looks like Gumiho going to be opening up with the double gas once again. SpeCial, same sort of opening. So very similar matchup so far. And remember, last time around, SpeCial, oh, actually, we only see one guy mining on each of those gases in gumiho's base. Ah,
Oh yeah,
okay, cool.
Good spot there. That's
So he's actually going to be going for, it's a very fast factory here, but he's just still going to be going for an expansion. So this is sort of a tricky build where SpeCial, you know, he might overreact to this. He might be like, okay, you're on one base, you might have a really fast Banshee. So gumiho's kind of hoping he's going to bait an overreaction from SpeCial, like missile turrets going down, blind, maybe even a bunker at the front. And SpeCial, he's got to be paranoid, man. He got destroyed last game by the first few harassment units. So let's see if he can keep his cool.
Yeah, this is a very intelligent pick here by gumiho to open up. So this game will most likely not look at all like our previous game. Let's see if he actually gets the SCV though. That could be annoying. Even a few seconds behind on the second command center, that means you're a little bit staggered and hiccuped on the mules and SCVs in the long run.
Oh, and the second Reaper's already there, and that command center's not finished.
Yeah, this is getting scary, Pig.
Gumiho is going for, another Hellion behind this as well. The Hellion does come up, but the Reaper goes down.
SpeCial's openings are just not panning out here.
Oh, no.
Is he going to be able to break this? That Hellion's so low.
Towing the line of greed is SpeCial. Luckily, he does get the other Reaper and finishes the command center. The SCV even comes in, says, hey, buddy, I've got a drill. Hellion says, I've got a flamethrower. You better get out of here really fast.
Yeah.
And that's a very nice opening for Gumi. Even though SpeCial hangs on, he's got the command center up. He's stabilized, but this is not the way he wanted the first few minutes to be going.
This is, you know, out of all the games I think we've casted, all these series that we've seen here, and we've seen a lot already at the Intel Extreme Masters, this has been the roughest one for one player just at the start. Again, we're not even at the 4-minute marker, and already SpeCial is getting boxed around the, his natural base, and that command center slowed down.
Cyclone going to be coming in here for Gumi as a follow-up as well, looking for an angle. These Marines and the Cyclone should be able to defend, but once again, bunker going down on the defense. SpeCial so focused on defending and surviving, but not just that, his information, he's penned into his corner of the map. This Cyclone for gumiho isn't necessarily here to do big game-ending damage, it's just keep the pressure up. Meanwhile, gumiho has a third command center building on location. Such a greedy move, but in the context of this game, perfectly safe and logical.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. A lot of this game so far, as a general theme, has been gumiho saying, SpeCial, if you don't respect the opportunities that I'm going to have with my builds, I'm going to punish you for it. And we're already seeing that. Now, if this third base gets up for gumiho and SpeCial is unable to do any damage or counterattack or get a third base of his own, I don't see SpeCial winning this game.
Oh, I don't think gumiho noticed that Banshee slipped just past the edge of its vision, and he's going to be going down towards that third. I think the third base will finish just in time. There is an engineering bay up. No scans saved for gumiho right now, but he scanned. Okay, he scanned just then, saw the starport. Of course, we're going to be going into the first-person view of gumiho here. You can see he's gathering his Cyclones. He's trying to get these missile turrets up, and he stopped dropping mules. He's trying to save energy so that he can scan. So he waits for the Banshee to come in deep. He's trying to get right underneath it, wants to finish it off, but a good reaction from SpeCial does get out of there.
So, the Banshee is finally chased off. I would say that that's great that it stayed alive. Hold on, I think if we get a shot of that Banshee gun, I think it's actually about to get gunned down.
Oh.
It is taken out just there. SpeCial, here's the unfortunate truth of this game.
Oh, and he just caught another one on the front as well.
God. SpeCial, okay, nothing's going right for him. SpeCial's fully aware of the bad situation he's in.
Absolutely.
It's it's going to be very tough to recover from this. I'm really racking my brain trying to figure out, okay, what's the big play? And the only thing I can think of is gumiho has a bad engage, and it flips the game over, and then SpeCial's able to push. Because right now, there are so many Cyclones here, gumiho can easily deny this expansion unless SpeCial pulls out a miracle here. Well, hold on.
These tanks are in the open, but they do manage to get a volley off. There we go. So, a bit scary for gumiho to commit there. If he caught the Marines kind of on the other side, the siege tanks in the open, he might have committed, but gumiho is just going to back off for now. He's got a double armory on the way, extra factories, and eventually adding his starport in. Gumiho is full steam ahead on the economy, the production, the upgrades. SpeCial here, he is also going to be going into factories after this, so not adding any Marine upgrades. He's going to be a mech play for both players, and I mean, realistically, I'm actually impressed with how well SpeCial is recovering despite the openings.
Yeah.
You know, he's not too far behind in the numbers, but there is a substantial upgrade lead and a small economy lead for gumiho.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We see SpeCial actually taking the very center, 12 o'clock position here. And that's, of course, because gumiho really made it inconvenient to try to push down to that natural location down there. We also saw gumiho turn down those rocks so he could access that location more easily. And hold up here, SpeCial coming in with this Banshee. Looks like a scan with these Cyclones. He should be able to chase that out. I don't believe he's going to get the kill off on it. But, you know, SpeCial doing what he can to try to stay in this game. And I got to say, SpeCial, he's doing a very good job of catch-up.
Absolutely. Definitely not the psychological situation you'd want to be sitting in, but SpeCial staying strong despite how the opening's gone. He's going to be adding his own +1 weapons, just looking to stabilize on 3 bases. And this is the part where the game gets very interesting for me, just as someone who's loved to watch the evolution of mech versus mech play. We saw SpeCial try some crazy styles against Bunny in the open bracket, and then kind of go back towards a more generic style of mech, and that's looks like what he's going for here. Mostly siege tank production, some Hellions, and Vikings now also starting up. So of course, mech versus mech, it's very siege tank focused, very slow units. Whoever gets the air control does get a big advantage.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how that works, right? It's like you're in this race to get these powerful ground units, but ultimately it's the air units you have to combo in with that so you can get the range shots off first. We see gumiho now moving over here, rotating to the right, and I believe there's only one siege tank by that command center, so he could actually crack this open. SpeCial spread a little bit thin here, but with more tanks coming up, he might be able to hold this off.
Wow, those Cyclones do manage to take out the one siege tank. Of course, gumiho would love to use these Cyclones efficiently now. They're not that strong in the later stages of the game, but he is going to be held. SpeCial will push him back here and does defend the third, but gumiho just trying to be as annoying as possible. This wasn't a huge commitment. He's got 2-2 upgrades on the way. All he's doing is keeping SpeCial busy, and at the same time, he even goes for a held-that tank drop in the main base.
Yeah, kind of unusual play here. Bruising a lot of those SCVs when it's all said and done. 8 down. Again, gumiho with the pokes, with the attacks. He's slowly chipping away at SpeCial. But SpeCial, you can see this guy is a tenacious player. He's just continuing to produce. He's trying to find his opportunity to come out here and make an attack of his own. And, you know, if gumiho overextends too many times, that's another way that he could actually lose this game.
Absolutely, especially since, you know, we've seen SpeCial playing a style with higher economy, higher SCVs than most Terran players play. With only him and TY really going for such a high economy. But we often see him going up to 80 or 90 workers, taking 4, 5, 6, 7 bases. And that means, yeah, you can do a bit of damage with some harassment. That might be crippling to a lesser Terran player, but someone like SpeCial, he can absorb quite a few hits, and he'll keep standing, he'll just keep expanding, he'll keep rebuilding. So you can't knock him out too easily.
So we see gumiho again just doing whatever he can to take the lead. I was actually wondering when that command center was made there if that was a wise decision, because it seemed like a pokeable location, and we just saw that with that SCV picked off here, and whoa! He could have gotten a lot more kills had that last shot gotten off there. Gumiho doing a great job just sort of controlling this game. Looks like he's going to be driven out of this spot. And actually, with this, gumiho expanding once again over here at the very bottom left. This may go undetected here by SpeCial. The tempo for gumiho really beginning to pick up.
I love that gumiho's going so high on workers himself. He's taking so many bases, but SpeCial has actually decided it's time to push. He's been fighting hard for that air control. He's got too few Liberators out there to try and leverage that. But the Cyclones do have the lock-on upgrade for gumiho, and gumiho is actually building 7 Cyclones at a time. He wants to jump on top of this army.
Okay, remember, these SCVs were bruised early on. If a few more volleys can get off, it looks like, in fact, they will not. Gumiho not quite being as attentive with that attack up there, but gumiho now is going to be pushed onto the defense. SpeCial's decided that this is his moment. Supply is virtually the same right now as SpeCial is looking for an opening. Gumiho scrambling with his tanks to get in the right position.
This is a very slow setup here for both sides' armies. If you get caught out of position, it might not look like the enemy is getting in there that quick, but once they siege up, it is a very scary army. And speaking of scary, those rapid-fire rocket launchers doing so much damage, but at the same time, SpeCial takes advantage of that inattention from gumiho. He dives on this base on the left, takes out the siege tank. A quick evacuation here from gumiho is going to avert disaster, but at the same time, he's going for a huge counterattack.
Okay, the SCVs are now being pulled. This nice Cyclone attack, already 22 SCVs down.
Wow.
And before I can even finish my sentence, it goes over 30. Incredible play there by gumiho.
This is massive damage on both sides, but especially from gumiho. He's just done a huge amount. Vikings trying to land in the main base. That's how desperate he is right now. Yet again, the story of this tournament. Command center's dying to Cyclone launches. and it looks like this has been a huge amount of damage through gumiho. Meanwhile, SpeCial, what did he really do? He did get 20 workers, he did force a lift on a command center, but the production stands strong. gumiho's army still over here being a massive nuisance.
Yeah, gumiho just doing a lot with a little. That was a tiny army when you compare it to what SpeCial was pushing across the map with, but it did way more damage. And SpeCial now limping through the map, trying to find an opportunity while his expansions are getting shredded.
Oh man, that's going to go down. Even lands a Viking to stop that command center
that
from
was
landing.
so sick.
gumiho all over this game
That
right
was
now.
cool. That was so cool, just having that one Viking landed, knowing that if it couldn't get on the ground, the rest of the Vikings would take it out. A brilliant play here by gumiho. And we see SpeCial, again, still with an army that you have to respect. I don't know if he can actually crack gumiho. I think gumiho knows exactly what to do, and it's just deny this push, and pretty soon SpeCial, as far as economy goes, is going to dry up.
Oh, there's just so many Hellions in there. The Vikings landing on the siege tanks in the rear as well. gumiho knows he has the numbers, and he just jumps on top.
Wow.
A decisive 2-0 victory.
That was so sick when the Viking landed into that command center, and gumiho is just looking phenomenal. And this is a very TVT-heavy group, which should be noted. So, you know,
It's a good recovery after the first. Obviously, both of these guys had such a hard game, right, in that first series. So it's a really tough start for SpeCial, though. I mean, gumiho, he kind of gets a bit of confidence, but SpeCial's still in trouble.
Wow. Crazy, crazy series. I really enjoyed that TVT. We'll be right back in a little bit here, guys, as we continue on here at the Intel Extreme Masters.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Intel Extreme Masters. We just had our second match of the day, and it was a Terran versus Terran. So first of all, congratulations, gumiho. It was a pretty convincing 2-0 for you. Your opponent was SpeCial, and in the past 6 years, you faced him 5 times, 6 times including today, and you've maintained an undefeated record. You've won every single time. So I was wondering, were you aware of that? And because of that, would you feel confident headed into this match? 일단 고병진 선수 축하드리고요. 상대 이제 선수가 스페셜 선수였는데 지난 6년 동안 5번이나 만났는데 5번 다 이겼어요. 그래서 그거를 알고는 있었는지, 그리고 오늘 경기 전에 그것 때문에 좀 자신감이 있었는지요?
그거에 대해서 몰랐고 제가 최근에는 마주친 기억이 잘 나지 않아서, 그리고 레더에서 했던 기억이 있어가지고 좀 자신은 있었거든요. 근데 이제 대회가 이거 떨어지면 4월 근처까지는 없다 보니까 너무 긴장이 되더라고요. 그래서 약간 좀 깔끔하지 못하게 했는데 그래도 유리해서 이겼던 것 같아요.
So he says, actually, when it comes to this, when it comes to facing SpeCial, I didn't know that I had such a good record against him. I don't have a lot of memories. I don't particularly remember well the times that we faced each other, but I have faced him on ladder before, and so because of that, I did feel pretty confident in terms of facing him. That being said, I was really nervous overall coming into this IEM because if I don't do well here, there's not another event for me to attend until like April, so I felt a lot of pressure on my shoulders, and because of that, I feel a little disappointed that I didn't show as clean of a game as I really wanted to, but still thankfully I was able to win. And when it comes to your group, there are so many great players. There's 4 Terrans and 2 Protoss. When it came to seeing your group, what was your reaction? 일단 조에 되게 잘하는 테란 선수들도 많고 토스 선수들도 2명 있는데 조를 봤을 때 무슨 생각이 들었나요?
정말 운이 없다. 최근 들어서 그런 생각이 너무 많이 들었어요. GSL도 그렇고 IEM도 그렇고 조에 저거 어떻게 한 명도 없지. 엄청 저거 좀 맞았으면 좋겠다고 생각을 했는데 또 저거 없어서 너무 아쉬웠고요. 그리고 또 테란도 이제 하필 제가 제일 싫어하는 선수들만 이렇게 골라서 와가지고 네 정말 조를 봤을 때 진짜 경악을 했습니다.
So he says, as soon as I saw the group, I thought, wow, I am the unluckiest player in the world. I came in and I was honestly hoping that I would be facing some Zerg players because it's the matchup that I'm the most confident in. And not only did I get some really strong Terran players, I got the Terran players I actually hate facing. So I thought that I was really unlucky because it's such a tough group in my opinion, and especially I got a tough group here as well as in the GSL. So I'm honestly, when I saw the group that I got, I was definitely not very, very happy. And I think one of the Terrans that you might be talking about is TY. It's the player that you're going to be going up against next. So what are your thoughts on him specifically? 일단 다음 만날 상대는 이제 전태양 선수인데 전태양 선수 물론 되게 잘하는 선수이기도 하고 그냥 개인적으로 어떻게 생각하세요?
상당히 까다로운 선수라고 생각하고요. 근데 이제 지면은 진짜 위험하기 때문에 반드시 이기도록 해야 될 것 같아요.
So he says, TY is definitely a really, really difficult opponent for me to face. But right now, the current thought that I have is if I lose against TY, because I had lost my first match as well, it puts me in a really difficult position. So I'm going to try my absolute hardest to win that one. So congratulations again on defeating SpeCial. Best of luck in your next match. Kaelaris, back to you.
That's right, thank you very much. Of course, we do have some updates going from some of the series that we had so far. We're going to check in with Maynarde first, who did have Showtime going up against Maru. Game number 2.
I did, certainly. We're just going to go into the replay of this one here. Obviously, you know, for branding purposes, in
nice.
Masters WCS. But we have Showtime going for something that's really uncommon for him, honestly. Like he is normally he's the wall. The wall's coming to Maru this time. Showtime going for a bit of a proxy. So I'm just going to fast forward. So this is how it started. Showtime went for a proxy here, and he did actually manage to sort of contain Maru with a small amount of forces. You know, obviously with siege tank and a bunker, that's a little bit tough tough to crack here. But he does deflect for a little bit while he has his third and natural backup. But I mean, spoilers, guys, this game doesn't go for too much longer, and you think, oh, you know, it's a nice economic start for him. But this is Maru we're talking about. This guy shot ahead in army supply and started to just win engagements and push Showtime all the way back to this third Nexus. Just trying to fast forward as much as possible so we can see the final engagement. This is it here. So Maru comes forward. You can see he's got +1 attack. That's never a good news here for the you know, non+1 armored charge lots trying to come in. He's trying to get Archons here, but you know, just too much Terran on the dance floor.
Too much
You
Terran.
got him. That's right.
Nice, thank you very much. Let's check in with Rotterdam as well. Dia versus TY. Game number 2 seemed a bit hectic.
It was. That was really all over the place. We just joined game number 3, so we could go in game, but it's really kind of pointless. They've got 12 workers at this point. But game 2, James, it started off, and people will probably wonder, like, God, Roddy, can you talk about anything else than 4 Hellions in a medevac? But it happened again, you know, like he dropped 4 Hellions. This time, Dia was out of position, didn't have a shield battery in his main, so he lost 9 probes at first. Then TY picked up his Hellions, dropped them into the low ground, killed 7 more. Now, 16 probes, normally that's just game over.
Right.
And TY was so far ahead economically, was so far ahead in army. But then Deer added a couple of disruptors, and he just kept eating massive shots. I was like, how close does he want to make this game? At one point, he was at almost 60 SCVs against 24 probes of Deer, because after the next attack, where he lost the main fight, he just went, okay, I'm just going to drop the main and the turn base. So he kept killing probes left, right, and center, and it forced Deer to go for this all-in. That was never supposed to work, but every disruptor shot got like 4 or 5 Marauders. I was like, oh my God, is this happening? And it was just weird, guys. 15 minutes in, TY had 24 SCVs, Deer had 20 probes, and Deer was like at one point, should I transition? I've got 0-0. In the end, TY did win it, so we've just joined game number 3. But it's safe to say that if you're going up against TY, that the more disruptors you have, the better it's probably going to be for you, because he just seems to think that he should headbutt these Purifier Novas, but it wasn't really working out for him. But he did win, and we're in game 3.
Not the way to go. Let's check in with the group standings, of course, as we do have plenty of results have come in. A lot of 2-0s, actually, getting things going. And do bear in mind as well at home that map score is extremely, extremely important here. So even if you do lose out 2-1, taking that map for potential tie-breaking situations down the line is very important. So far, so good for Maru. 2 series with a 2-0 score each time. And then we have, obviously, more results coming on in. Unfortunately, though, for Showtime and SpeCial, not the best of starts for those gentlemen. Neither of them has taken a map, Maynarde.
Yeah, a little bit rough. I mean, even, you know, Gumiho is in a better spot than them, and he was complaining about his map score, like, I need to win this next best of 3, saying in an interview there with Smix. It's very, very important. We're getting into the business end of Group A, where people are going to, it's starting to, you know, we're seeing the picture of who's likely to go through and who's likely to not. It's a shame there for the non-Koreans, I guess.
That first game between Showtime and Maru was actually really cool, the one that you showed.
It was very close, yeah. The score wasn't indicative of how close the games were.
Yeah, the Kaelaris game, I really kind of felt that maybe Showtime could have won that one. There was this one Doom drop, and he went for 2 forges, Maru that is, and he killed one of the forges literally 0.5 seconds after +2 armor finished up, and then he went for +2 attack, which wasn't done yet, but in the end he couldn't get it, so he lost a bunch of buy units. I kind of thought that was Showtime's game, but a couple of bad engagements, and also he felt a little indecisive. He felt very scared of a defensive Maru, and then he just kind of started bleeding out units, but Showtime should have won that first game, I think.
All right, well, time to go to a short break here, ladies and gentlemen, and when we return, more StarCraft action coming from the Intel Extreme Masters.